I shall endeavor to serve you with loyalty, respect, and love, as I have throughout my life.
King Charles, the reigning monarch of Britain, has finally confessed to a royal secret that's been whispered about for years, and it's more shocking than anyone imagined. In a stunning revelation, he's admitted why he kept one of his sons hidden from the public eye, sparking outrage, heartbreak, and endless speculation. So what exactly drove King Charles to hide the truth for so long? And how will this confession reshape the legacy of the royal family? Join us as we uncover the emotional truth behind the palace's most closely guarded secret, a legacy on the brink. For decades, King Charles has guarded a legacy built on tradition, bloodlines, and ceremony, an image of stability that defines the British monarchy. But now, that carefully constructed legacy risks crumbling in mere moments. The foundation of the crown, symbolizing centuries of unbroken continuity, faces an unprecedented challenge, one that could tear apart the very fabric of royal succession. This isn't just a scandal. It threatens to erupt into a full-blown constitutional crisis, shaking the British monarchy to its very core and unleashing powerful waves of public outrage across the United Kingdom and far beyond its shores. Since the early 17th century, royal history has been dotted with whispered rumors of hidden affairs and secret children. Illegitimate heirs quietly vanished into anonymity, while dynastic alliances were forged behind closed doors. Kings and queens have long danced a dangerous line between love and duty, often concealing personal mistakes within the stone walls of palaces like Buckingham Palace in London or Clarence House. Yet never before has a secret so close to the heart of the royal bloodline hovered so near to exposure, threatening the succession in ways unimaginable. Throughout this storm, King Charles has carried a heavy burden. As monarch since ascending the throne in 2022, after Queen Elizabeth II's passing, he has been no stranger to public criticism, intense media scrutiny, and the shadows cast by past failed relationships. Now he faces a secret too perilous to voice, perhaps held back by guilt, fear, or a mix of both. The silence around it is suffocating. Some truths, no matter how explosive, are easier to bury in darkness than risk shattering everything by revealing them to the world. But who is this hidden heir? And how did such a monumental secret remain concealed for so many years? But what secret heir has King Charles hidden for decades? And why? Stay glued to your screen to uncover the truth. The secret shadow behind the crown. Beneath the shining surface of the British monarchy, where glittering ceremonies and royal traditions dazzle the world, lies a shadow so deep that even whispering its name feels dangerous. Behind every polished image and public smile, there's a secret, a name never meant to be spoken aloud. If revealed, it could spark the biggest royal scandal in decades. It's not Prince William, nor Prince Harry. Those names are known worldwide. This secret belongs to someone entirely different, someone born not from duty, but from a hidden moment history has tried to erase. The whispers trace back to the turbulent 1980s, a time when palace life was unraveling and tabloid obsession was at its peak. This mysterious child, said to have been born during that decade, carries a weight that could shake the monarchy's foundation. At that time, Prince Charles was trapped in a cold, crumbling marriage to Princess Diana, struggling not only with the demands of the crown, but also with his deep loneliness. This wasn't a typical affair, and it had nothing to do with Camilla, the woman later associated with Charles. The rumors point to a woman outside royal circles. No noble blood, no political ties, just a brief, life-altering detour from the carefully planned royal path. Some say it was a mistake. Others believe it was a secret so precious that Charles had no choice but to bury it beneath layers of loyalty, fear, and silence. What makes this story even more chilling is the silence surrounding it. The palace has neither confirmed nor denied the rumors, leaving a vacuum where speculation thrives. Decades-old interviews with royal aides who mysteriously vanished, grainy tabloid headlines later retracted, and hush-hush settlements protected by non-disclosure agreements hint at something real lurking beneath the surface. Journalists and investigators have followed faint trails, from Charles's solo trips in the early 1980s to moments of deep marital strain with Diana. A remarkable lead even appeared in Australia, where a man resembling Charles claimed royal ties, only to disappear under unclear circumstances. The more one digs, the more walls of resistance emerge, walls that seem to say far more than any official denial ever could. But what hidden secret from Charles's past could shake the monarchy forever? Stay tuned and don't take your eyes off this story. A royal secret too dangerous to reveal. This isn't just a rumor that refuses to fade. It's a secret many believe was never meant to exist openly. If true, this hidden son wouldn't simply be a family secret. He would be a constitutional bomb waiting to explode. This raises a deeper question. Was the silence around this child about embarrassment, or was it something far more threatening to the monarchy's survival? Keeping a child hidden isn't always about scandal. Sometimes it's about survival. For King Charles, protecting this secret was not an act of cruelty or neglect. It was a brutal, necessary choice to safeguard himself, the crown, and a fragile royal family already teetering on the edge. Behind the grand palace walls of Buckingham Palace and Clarence House, appearances meant everything. The monarchy sold a vision of stability, unity, and timeless tradition. But beneath this glittering facade, Charles's marriage to Princess Diana was quietly falling apart. Their private struggles threatened to spill into public view at any moment. Had this secret son come to light during that turbulent time, the 1980s and early 1990s, it would not only have stained Charles's reputation, but shattered the monarchy's carefully built image. The royal family had faced wars, abdications, and rebellions before, but a revelation like this, a child born in secret outside royal protocol, could have destroyed public trust forever. Diana's every move was already under the relentless gaze of the press, and the shadow of Camilla Parker Bowles added fuel to the rumors and suspicions. This was more than just a scandal. A hidden son would have raised impossible questions about Charles's morality and the very line of succession. Could the throne pass to a child whose birth was buried in secrecy and shame? So silence became the only weapon, a calculated strategy requiring the cooperation of aides, lawyers, and a compliant media, willing to protect the secret for favors or money. This son was denied a name, a home, even a family. No photographs, no records, no trace, because the fewer the links, the smaller the risk of exposure. But the cost was immense. Imagine the emotional weight on Charles, watching the world celebrate his other sons, William and Harry, while knowing another son, his blood and legacy, was hidden away by design. Every royal appearance, every speech was a reminder of what he sacrificed for the crown, burying not only the truth, but a part of himself. In the quiet moments, did the guilt ever stop whispering? This was not just a personal betrayal, but a desperate act of public survival. But what secret did King Charles bury to protect the crown? And at what cost? Keep watching to uncover the truth. How a royal secret was erased. The preservation of the monarchy demanded that this truth be rewritten, hidden away, and that hearts be broken in silence. Hiding this child wasn't a simple secret. It was a carefully planned operation, executed with precision and ruthlessness. If this son truly existed, his concealment was no accident. It was a deliberate move by an institution that has mastered the art of burying inconvenient truths deep beneath layers of control. Rumors suggest the child's birth didn't even take place on British soil. Too risky, too many prying eyes. Instead, the birth likely happened abroad, far from London's relentless royal press corps, away from palace insiders, and anyone who could link the newborn to the future king. Any existing records wouldn't carry the Windsor name. Instead, a different surname, a different mother's location, and a completely altered timeline were created to erase all traces before the story could begin. But distance alone wasn't enough to hide the bloodline. The monarchy's power and network of loyal protectors ensured the secret stayed buried. Royal aides, sworn to silence, were reportedly sent to control any fallout. Hospital staff were carefully bypassed. Midwives quietly retired early, and the legal system sprang into action. Non-disclosure agreements locked lips tight. Anyone who came close to the truth was silenced. Every loose end was tied up. Every whisper was crushed. Every document was sealed behind palace walls. Walls so secure that even Parliament wouldn't dare to breach them. This wasn't just a rumor that faded away. It was a scandal, smothered before it could even breathe. Even the simplest proof, a photograph, a birth certificate, a school record, was impossible to find. No official trace ever linked this child to the royal family. He became a ghost within the system, raised under a false identity, living a life built on distance and silence. Some say he grew up overseas, perhaps in a Commonwealth country, hidden from London's watchful eyes and aristocratic curiosity. No invitations to Sandringham, no Christmas cards from Clarence House, just silence, the kind only royalty can afford to buy. And yet, through it all, Charles carried on. So at what lengths could the monarchy go to erase this secret son? Stay with us to uncover every hidden detail, a father's silent struggle. And yet, publicly, King Charles was the perfect image of calm and control, cutting ribbons, attending state dinners, and delivering speeches carefully crafted by others. But beneath that polished exterior, the contradiction must have been unbearable. How does a father stand before millions, waving to crowds, while pretending his child doesn't exist? The emotional conflict is almost impossible to measure. Behind the royal wave and flawless smile was a man haunted by a secret he could never voice aloud, an unspoken truth that stared back at him in quiet moments, fueling silent guilt and slowly cracking the legacy he was sworn to protect. Even the most tightly held secrets cast shadows, and those shadows have begun to whisper. Every lie told hides a reason, and this one might be darker than anyone imagined. To understand why this secret was buried so deeply, you must grasp the storm already raging. When this child was allegedly born, likely in the turbulent 1980s, the monarchy wasn't standing on firm ground. It was barely holding itself together. The cracks in Charles and Diana's marriage weren't just obvious. They were wide and raw. Meanwhile, Camilla Parker Bowles was no longer a hushed rumor, but a headline fixture, stirring public opinion. Loyalty to the crown was slipping, replaced by growing resentment. People were no longer just questioning the monarchy. They were turning against it. In the middle of this crisis, one more scandal would have been disastrous. The existence of an illegitimate son wouldn't just embarrass the royal family, it would ignite a firestorm that could burn down the very foundations of the institution. A child born out of wedlock during the height of Charles's marriage to Diana would have turned public sympathy into rage. Diana, already beloved and pitied, would be seen as the ultimate betrayed woman. Charles? He wouldn't just be the reluctant husband, he'd become the villain who shattered the royal fairy tale forever. But could there be a secret that may damage the monarchy and could have turned a prince into a villain overnight? Let's keep watching to find out. The price of silence. But for Charles, the weight wasn't only personal, it was constitutional. This wasn't just a secret child hidden from public view. If the whispers were true, this son may have been born in the early 1980s. Possibly before Prince William's arrival in June 1982. That detail alone would have upended everything. The royal succession isn't just a family matter, it's law, heritage, and national identity. One older son, officially acknowledged, would mean William's place in line to the throne would be invalid. Parliament might have been forced to intervene. Constitutional experts would be called. The public would erupt. The system could collapse. But Charles was never just a monarch in waiting. He was a father. And that role, as private as it is powerful, created an impossible dilemma. To recognize this hidden child would mean rewriting his son's stories. William, the future king, molded from birth to rule, would suddenly be second, not first. Harry, the so-called spare, would lose even the little stability he had. Everything the public knew, every photograph, every title, every plan, carefully laid out over decades, would unravel. So Charles was forced to choose, not between good and evil, but between two different forms of betrayal. One toward a son raised in silence. The other two sons were raised in the spotlight. No matter his decision, someone's life would be undone. And the tragedy of it all? This wasn't just one lie. It was a chain reaction of choices, silences, and sacrifices, all designed to protect a monarchy that demands loyalty, even at the cost of love. Behind every royal wave, every well-rehearsed speech, sits the echo of someone erased, A name never spoken, a life traded for stability, a truth swallowed so deeply it may never surface, but it's still there. But what if the true heir to the throne was hidden in plain sight? Would the monarchy survive? Keep watching to find out. The forgotten bloodline, and yet, behind the weighty silence and heavy crown, another life quietly unfolded, one not bound by luxury, but by loss. The supposed son of King Charles, born in secrecy during the fragile years of the 1980s, may have grown up worlds away from the royal palaces and historic estates of England. If he truly existed, his childhood would have been anything but magical. He wouldn't have been a prince playing in Kensington Gardens or posing beside a Christmas tree at Sandringham. Instead, he may have been a boy asking silent questions that no one dared to answer. Imagine knowing, or perhaps only sensing, that your father ruled over millions, yet wouldn't even admit you existed, that the face you saw on television year after year belonged to someone whose blood ran in your veins, but who never said your name. Not publicly, not privately, not even once. You're told who you are, but something never feels quite right, and somewhere deep inside, there's a whisper that won't stop asking, "Why not me?" While William and Harry were wrapped in royal ceremonies, photographed by the world's cameras and groomed for life under scrutiny, this alleged son may have watched from afar, shielded but separated. His life might have been curated to look ordinary, even privileged. Elite schools, polished uniforms, carefully monitored friendships, but no crest, no title, no trace of truth. The love of a nation was never his to hold. Would he have ever crossed paths with his half-brothers, felt a strange connection? Or was the wall built so perfectly that even they were blind to what was missing? Perhaps the truth eventually found him, not in a headline, but in a quiet discovery, a paper trail, a photograph, a resemblance too strong to ignore. And when it did, what filled him? Rage, confusion, or just the cold emptiness of a life lived in silence? A secret like that doesn't just stay buried. It festers. It leaves a hole in a family that already struggled with fracture. The royal image may be pristine in public, but behind the grand balconies and the formal portraits, how deep did the fracture run? But what if the royal child erased from history has been watching all along, waiting to reclaim his place? Stay glued. A truth the crown could never contain left him with a grief too complex to name. His life, if it exists, a quiet rebellion against a crown that erased him. But even the most deeply buried truths have a way of clawing back to the surface. And now, perhaps, that long-buried truth is beginning to stir. King Charles may have succeeded in keeping the world silent, but silence doesn't erase consequences. It only delays it. And the first cracks, it seems, didn't appear in newspapers or tabloids, but within the family itself, behind palace doors, among the people who should have been closest to him. For years, the relationship between Charles and his sons, William and Harry, has been rocky. Not just because of the divorce from Diana or the cold formality of royal life, but because something deeper always seemed to be simmering beneath the surface, unspoken. Could that tension trace back to a brother they never knew? A shadow in the family's story that no one dared to name? Imagine growing up as William did, told from birth that the crown would someday be his. Every day is shaped by that destiny. But then, imagine discovering that someone else may have been born before you, someone whose bloodline may be just as royal, whose birthright was quietly swept under the royal rug. For William, that possibility wouldn't just shake his future, it would rewrite everything. And Harry, already estranged from the palace, marked by grief, and open about his struggles, how might he have reacted? He left the royal fold searching for truth, for healing, for autonomy. But what if part of that unrest, that need to break free, came from a silence he could feel but never explain? A feeling that something vital had been hidden, not just from the public, but from him. And what of Diana, the beloved Princess of Wales, adored by millions, and scorned by the institution that once embraced her? If she ever discovered Charles had fathered a child outside their marriage, a child she never knew, never met, it would have reshaped everything. Her public battles, her private breakdowns, her televised heartbreak, It would have exposed a betrayal deeper than any the public knew, a fresh wound layered atop the old ones she already carried. The royal family has endured much scandal, abdication, and tragedy, but it's never confronted a secret like this. One that, if true, doesn't just risk embarrassment. It threatens to rearrange the very structure of monarchy itself. Because if this hidden son truly exists, if he was born before William, the line of succession as we know it isn't just damaged, it's invalid. The British Constitution, centuries old and built upon the notion of hereditary rule, would be thrown into chaos. Parliament might have to intervene. The public, already skeptical of royal privilege in a modern world, might revolt. And here's where the pressure tightens. We no longer live in a world where secrets stay hidden. In 2025, DNA tests can be purchased online. A few swabs of saliva and decades of deception unravel in real time. For a monarchy that once controlled every photograph, every headline, and every birth announcement, this is a nightmare scenario. Control is slipping, the shadows are moving, and somewhere out there, that secret son may be watching. Journalists, no longer hushed by protocol, are starting to dig. Whispered tips are becoming credible leads. Anonymous sources, once silenced by ironclad NDAs, are beginning to speak. Carefully, cautiously, there are suggestions that records exist. Names, dates, locations. That which was once dismissed as conspiracy is an open door the palace is desperately trying to bolt shut. The irony is almost cruel. For years, Prince Harry lived under the cloud of false rumors, people whispering he wasn't Charles's biological son, pointing to his resemblance to James Hewitt, a man Diana once knew. The palace denied it over and over. Harry endured the humiliation of being treated as the spare and a source of gossip. But now, the monarchy may face something worse than rumor. Verifiable truth. A child they did father. A child they erased. And the public? They're no longer content with tradition. They want answers. They want transparency. Reverence for the crown doesn't mean silence anymore. It means accountability. If there is a man out there, living under another name, with royal blood and a suppressed identity, the people want to know who he is. Where did he come from? And why, for so long, was he hidden? The pressure is building. Petitions are forming. Calls for DNA testing are growing louder. If this man's possible son steps forward, armed with proof and unwilling to remain in the dark, the monarchy faces not just a scandal, but a reckoning. What happens to William then? A man raised for kingship, suddenly forced to question whether he was ever truly first in line. And Charles, already under scrutiny as a newly crowned monarch, how does he lead a nation when his legacy is falling apart? This isn't just a question of lineage, it's a question of power, of integrity, of what it means to build a legacy on silence. Because if the child is real, and his story is true, then history isn't what we thought. The Windsor dynasty may have to face its darkest chapter yet, and this time, there may be no way to bury the truth. And so we wait. Because one man may hold the key to unlocking a royal secret that could shake the British monarchy to its core. But what do you think happens when a hidden heir steps into the light? Could it truly rewrite royal history? We'd like to hear your thoughts through comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.